What I saw was hundreds, probably thousands of people surrounding a hotel, trying to smash their way into the hotel, setting fires around the fire exit of the hotel, fighting with police, throwing rocks and bricks, sticks, just quite horrific violence.
And your photographs, I think, and we're seeing them now, have been published widely, have they, across the media?
Yes.
Where have they been?
Everywhere. I mean, you know, without wishing to sound sort of, it's.
You're allowed to blow your own trumpet. You took some amazing photographs.
That's kind. I think the point being that the coverage that's been gained has been partly because I could work freely as much as possible within that situation, and because I can work freely, it means I can get the images that tell that story. The more dangerous it becomes to work in those sort of situations, the harder it is to get those images.
Okay, and that ties into what we're talking about. Very pertinent, because the police have been in touch with you about those pictures. What have they asked you for? What are they saying?
They asked me if they could see all the pictures that I took that day. I said no and explained both in terms of the procedural aspects of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, but also in terms of, sort of journalistic ethics, why that's a problem. They said they would consult their legal team, and then came back saying they would proceed for a judge to issue an order for me to hand them over.
I mean, in my experience, this is something that the police do, but media organisations fight it. But just explain to people watching why you said no. What is it that you're worried about?
There's two things. I mean, just quickly on that point, big media organisations have the resource and the backing to be able to cover their people working on the street. Because I'm freelance, I don't have that backing. So obviously I would love to be able to rely on that, but that's not available to me. In terms of why I said no, there's a very, very important point, which is that journalists must not be seen to be police officers. We must not be seen to be acting on behalf of the police. It's a fundamental trust issue. If people perceive me as working in the interest of the police, then when I need to interview someone, when I need to photograph someone, when I need them to trust me that what they tell me off or on the record is just that, if they think actually this will all end up in the hands of the police, then they won't trust me.
And so what would you say to people who say, look, hold on a minute, if I had pictures of people breaking the law in this sort of situation, I think I'd hand them over?
That's up to them. If they're not working as a photojournalist, and tomorrow they won't be meeting the same people again or asking someone else to trust them, that might well work well for them. But for me, when I and my colleagues, I mean, that's the other thing as well. It's not just me. You know, next time it won't be me. It'll be one of my colleagues who's assaulted for being, you know, a copper's narc. It's not against the police, who I thought worked incredibly hard in Rotherham. It's about protecting myself and my colleagues that come next from being perceived as being working for the police. It really is that simple.
Because if you were perceived as working for the police, do you feel that your safety would be under threat?
It is. I mean, that exists anyway. So in a situation like that, no one is really happy to be photographed any more than they're happy to be arrested. So that's the situation that I go into, and I know that. But then you multiply it by an additional risk. I think if you're someone who is both hostile towards being identified and also who perceives someone as acting on behalf of the enemy, that's a bigger problem. And then I come back to it the next day when I'm speaking to someone not in a situation like that, but when I need them to trust me that, I'm saying I'll anonymise their image because they are in trouble for something else. I need them to be able to trust me that I will keep to that word, and that again, their identity won't be revealed in a way that is against their wishes.
I mean, on a slightly more superficial note, I've been astounded by how many people had their photographs taken without attempting to cover their faces as they were looting or rioting. Did that surprise you as you were going about your work, or is it just people are caught up in the heat of the moment?
Without wishing to obviously presume what people's motives are, I think that's likely. I mean, heat of the moment, I sort of have less sympathy for that, in that you're talking about, you know, lots of people in a position where they could have left at any point they wished. The police were telling them to leave, the police were arresting them, the police had their riot shields on, were pushing them back. There was plenty of room to leave at any point. So I don't really have sympathy for that. But certainly I do know that there's a psychology amongst the mob that is slightly harder to rationalise in that situation.
And it's worth saying South Yorkshire Police have issued a statement to us tonight saying that they have sympathy with you and that they're going to proceed cautiously. So perhaps they are backing away from, perhaps it was one police officer making suggestions to you that actually, when they look at it in the round, they're rowing back from.
I hope so. That would be good. The previous information that I was given on Saturday was they explicitly were going to get a production order, or at least ask a judge for a production order. So if they sort of pull back from that, hopefully they'll stop altogether. As I say, it's not just about me, it's about every other journalist working in the public who has a right to work freely and safely.
Well, Joel Goodman, thank you for coming on Newsnet, and please do keep us posted. Let's pick that up